Hey there, thanks for tuning into Duck Bricks. I'm Chris and it's time for another massive Bricklink haul. Now featured in this video is basically every set I purchased throughout the spring of 2022. This kind of encompasses March, April, even a bit of May, depending on when this video comes out. We'll see exactly how much of it will be included, but I'm very excited to showcase this haul with all of you. There's a lot of vintage LEGO sets, LEGO Legends, and truly fantastic classic LEGO items. Lots of rare things to see here as well, so let's jump right into the first item on this haul. Alright, so here we are with the massive package. I cannot wait to see what's inside of here. Let's open it up and take a look at all the sets. Okay, wow, they have really sealed this guy up here. So first of all, we have a massive packet for just the instructions. This is already pretty heavy, so we're going to set this aside and take a look at each set one by one. We also have a bit of base plates on the top. First of all, I'm really appreciating the way these are being packaged. This probably isn't showing up on the green screen, but it's a base plate here in green for a certain set. I don't remember these set numbers, so we're going to figure out. And the rest of the box is just packed full of LEGO bricks. So let's kind of go one by one here and see what we have. So first of all, they actually did thankfully order these sets by set number, which I really appreciate. So let's kind of try to dig around and take these all out as we go along. So I'm going to very carefully cut open the instruction manuals here. Really do not want to accidentally cut one of the manuals while I open this. So let's just open this very carefully. All right. And here we have a massive stack of manuals. Now you can probably tell what some of these are going to be, but let's just start off right here. First set number 5987. So I'm going to try to find the manual here. Okay. So this set here is 5987. It is the LEGO Adventures Dino Island set. You can see some of the larger parts for it are right here. I cannot wait to build this because there's a lot of stuff that I've been really wanting from that set in particular. Now, I don't necessarily know the way these are packaged, so I am just going to take all of these bags out and we're just gonna go one by one until we figure out what we have. So let's just get all the bags out here. This is a lot of Legos. So this is a massive, massive haul from a single seller for me, which is pretty rare, but I was going around their store and I just realized they had a lot of really nice stuff for a pretty good price, so I figured why not pick them up. So we have the first bag there for, this is 5987. So it looks like these are actually separated out into individual baggies as well. So first off, I guess we have a ton of Harry Potter sets in this haul. 4753 is Sirius Black's Escape. Now, I don't know which one of these bags correspond with it. Looks like it might be this one. So we've got, yep, 4753. Yep, 4753 right here. Sirius Black's Escape. So that is nice to see. On the topic of Harry Potter, there's actually quite a few other stuff in here. We have 4755, the Night Bus. So that is presumably, just look for a pile of purple bricks in here. I'm guessing it is going to be, oh yeah, there it is. One of these bags right here. So we have this here. And then we have LEGO Studios 1370. This is actually a tie-in to Jurassic Park 3 featuring, surprisingly enough, Johnny Thunder and Pippin Reed. So for whatever reason, they were using the Adventurers characters, but they're still facing off against Raptors and Pteranodons, so that is interesting to see there. We have another LEGO Adventurers set, so that's set number 7410. This is a Johnny Thunder boat with a large engine on it, so interested to build that. We also have 4751 Harry and the Marauders map, so I cannot wait to build this one myself. A vintage LEGO system set, 6037. This is the Witch's Airship, which uses a dragon to fly her airship, so a very fun set. Another studio set, 1354, a massive dragon head chomping down on an adventure. We have an Island Extreme Stunt set. This is 6735. Now, I do own a lot of the LEGO Island Extreme Stunt sets, but surprisingly enough, I do not have a lot of them built. So I figured, why not get this? I probably already own this already, but why not just get another one just so I can build it? Continuing on the Harry Potter trend, we have 4702. This is the Mirror of Erised, so you can see the special Professor Quirrell minifigure, as well as the mirror itself. 4732 Hogwarts Gryffindor dorms with a nice little cardboard inlay and a piece of fabric there. Going on to Star Wars, we have 7258. This is the Wookiee Kashyyyk attack invasion set. This is the only version of the Corporate Alliance tank droid I don't own yet, so excited to get building with that. 4714 Harry Potter Gringotts Chase set. So this is another Harry Potter one that I did not own previously. And we have this 6740, the Massive Island Extreme Stunts base. I definitely know I have this, but the pieces are scattered in my collection, so I figured why not just get it again? It wasn't that expensive, it was actually really cheap, so I figured why not add this to my collection. And lastly, we have a Final Adventurer set, 5975. This is one of the boats that they use to trap the dinosaurs and transport them. Cannot wait to build this, and with this I will have now owned every single LEGO Adventure set in the Dino Island sub-theme. I can't wait to get building. There's a lot of LEGO here to get into, and these are really well organized too. I'm really happy how every single set has a very clear set number, how many bags it's supposed to have. Each one of the bags is packaged in their individual pieces. Even looks like some color pieces are sorted, so for this set in particular, you can see pieces are actually sorted by color, so this is a fantastic experience from Bricklink. I can't wait to get building and show you all these sets. Alright, so here on the list is the Imperial Star Destroyer from 2006. This was one of the only Playscale style Star Destroyers I did not already own. For whatever reason, I just never got a chance to pick it up. I did own all of the other ones, like the 2014 version and even some of the later ones, but this one was one that had remained elusive up until now. So what was really interesting while building this and putting it together was just kind of looking at what sorts of building techniques stayed the same when LEGO was evolving the concept of these large Playscale style Star Destroyers, and what things are completely different, and honestly what would not be used in any sort of model today just because how flimsy it is. You see, 2006 was kind of this era of LEGO where they were being very experimentative in terms of how they were actually putting stuff together, but that also meant that they were actually releasing a ton of sets that were incredibly flimsy, would break apart very easily, and had some very dubious connections, and there certainly are a lot of those here. One thing that I actually really enjoy is a look at almost like a prototype Flickfire missile. This was before LEGO made the Flickfire missile piece, so they were really trying to come up with all sorts of crazy solutions, which you can see here is this. So pushing this very hard sort of makes a lightsaber blade fall out. It does not work very well at all. It's honestly kind of funny seeing how they were really trying to have, I guess that works. So that really worked. Flicking it worked quite well, but some sort of a shooter function in their sets. This is not held in at all. If you tilt the Star Destroyer down, it will just fall out, but kind of funny to see what they were experimenting with in the early days before the Flickfire missile's advent. I do not really like how obvious it is. It's a very large red pin sticking right out of the side, so that kind of takes me out of the model a little bit, but there's just a lot of very interesting things here that also stayed pretty much the same when we're talking about modern Star Destroyers. Now, much like many of the modern ones, this has a full interior. Let's actually open this up right here. This does have a latch on the back, which allows you to open it up. You just have to move the latch upwards, and you can take the entire thing out. So this is a very interesting, almost somewhat over-engineered mechanism to remove it here. It's a big mess of different Technic beams and latches and rubber bands and whatnot. And if you wanted to, you can even move this part outwards on the bridge, which you can see right here, but we'll take a look at that later on. So once we're inside, the panels fully open up, much like the modern Star Destroyers. Let's just do that right now. Open these up right here, and these do open up as well in the very front, but they don't really reveal anything. It just reveals a button to press. So here you can see the full interior of the Star Destroyer. Now, to show this a little bit clearer, let's raise up the camera just a tad here, tilt ourselves down, really get into this. A lot of empty space, which is pretty surprising. Normally in a set like this today, you'd see at least a little bit more detail than this, some computer terminals perhaps. Now, this being said, there were no stickers included in the set that I got that were not already pre-applied, so maybe there were supposed to be some other stickers here and there that I just didn't get a chance to see. One thing I do like is the usage of these particular panel pieces to act as the insides of the hallways. They don't really add a ton of different texture, but I do like the way that they look, and it definitely does feel like a Star Destroyer hallway. This is also a very fun feature of the Emperor Palpatine or Darth Sidious hologram right here, which just swings back and forth almost like it's being projected from a surface like this. And then over here, we have a bit of a weapons rack. It's kind of an odd way of mounting it, but this is supposed to slide back and forth as some sort of a changing area or whatnot. I believe it's what it's supposed to be, and you're supposed to put some weapons right there. Now, Over here, we have the Darth Vader meditation chamber, probably the most simple form of meditation chamber we have ever gotten, but it does include this particular sliding piece here to grasp his helmet and lift the helmet off of him. And then this all opens up to reveal Darth Vader himself. Now, I did buy this particular set without minifigures because I do already own all the figures, and it was a lot cheaper without figures, so I don't have them in there right now, but you can kind of see the gist of how that works. Now, one of my favorite functions is this escape pod. You can push this here and it launches the escape pod into this hole. If it was flying, it would just go straight through, as you can see right here, and come right out the bottom. So that's really great to see. Love that little feature there. Definitely means that the bottom of the base is not really built all too strongly. It's kind of a little finicky in the way that it's set up, but obviously this was a set from the 2006 era, so it's pretty much to be expected. Now, after all this folds up, which surprisingly works very similarly to some of the mechanisms today, we can now step back and look at how the upper bridge section works. So let's just readjust our camera here and get this all the way back set up like so. So let's just plop us down here. Now, this part of the bridge basically just kind of sits there. Nothing really too crazy going on with this front part. The back part, however, does fully open up. As you can see right here, this whole thing just slides open, which is a feature I really like, which reveals the cockpit inside. So inside here, you can actually see there's a lot of nice decals for the stickers on the cockpits here on the sides of the walls, different decals there, just to mimic just a single officer standing up there giving some commands. So that is a feature that I do appreciate, and how easy it is to close up as well. One thing that I am not the biggest fan of is just how obvious they made it. They really tried to highlight every single feature with red. So you literally have a red thing saying, pull me right here, pull this handle to open, which I really don't think was very necessary. Of course, you've got the red handle back here, but the most egregious is this here. Still, that being said, I am very happy to finally have the Star Destroyer that has been missing from my collection be part of my collection for the first time in a long time, and I'm very happy to be able to eventually hang this up with all of the other Star Destroyers on my wall. Right here is another LEGO Star Wars set that actually features some material that has not been revisited since it first came out to coincide with Revenge of the Sith in 2005. It is the battle on Kashyyyk with the Corporate Alliance tank droid, which you can see right here, as well as one of the Wookiee flyers, plus one of the spider droids, and some battle droids to boot. So this is a pretty interesting and fun set because it came at a time where LEGO designers were still working off of concept artwork. They didn't really have the look and feel of the spaceships and tanks nailed down. So again, they were assuming that all these Separatist vehicles were using that sand blue and dark blue color scheme, which is why the tank droid has a very bizarre color scheme featuring these colors here and a transparent orange dish. Still, it's a very striking color scheme that's really interesting to see in LEGO form, and this actually does have a few interesting features despite being very flimsy compared to what we would expect today. So how it works is that, oh, see, that just broke off right there, but how it works is this literally just slides open. It's just mounted on one single Technic pin. So if you wanted to, you could just put a battle droid kind of sitting inside a little bit awkwardly. Let's try to get our boy inside there, but there we go. That's how it would work. You just have the battle droid placed right inside the cockpit of the vehicle, just kind of cozily like that, and then have it close right up. They essentially were not really sure, it seems, whether these were piloted by battle droids or they were just their own separate vehicles, which of course, as we know now, they definitely do not need pilot seats in universe, but I think it's a cute feature to include one for the battle droid inside, especially because it's a lot of fun to just open this up and reveal the cockpit inside. Unfortunately, this means that a lot of the building techniques for this are very questionable. These are mounted very loosely. It's really easy to knock the eyes off, and they're mounted a very strange way as well. You've got a lot of very finicky bits and pieces going on with this, with the antenna and whatnot, and it definitely feels very flimsy compared to the Corporate Alliance tank droid builds of today. Still, that being said, it's kind of a fun look in time as to what LEGO was thinking back when Revenge of the Sith first came out. Of course, the Spider Droid is another build that is honestly kind of very similar to what we're getting still today. However, it does use some vintage pieces like the dome element, in particularly this style, as well as the underdome element, but essentially a lot of the similar design philosophy carries on to this day. Battle droids are still using the standard blasters that are the classic Star Wars video game ones. And speaking of LEGO games,
I was very surprised to be playing the Skywalker Saga, the video game that just came out in 2022, and saw this vehicle still in this exact form flying alongside Kashyyyk, because again, LEGO has not revisited it, so they literally were just forced to use this exact model. Kind of funny how they have not actually revisited any of the Wookiee vehicles. I really do wish that eventually they will, because it is an area that is woefully undercovered in LEGO. These were really only the Wookiee vehicles that we ever got, so kind of a disappointment to only get these. It's very, very basic, very, very flimsy, but I guess it gets the job done for what it is supposed to be. It's just an odd vehicle in general, and I understand why LEGO doesn't really make it today, because I can imagine that these didn't sell all too well. It's a very strange concept and design, but it definitely is in need of an update because it's a very flimsy design for the flyer as well. With that though, let's now move on to the next set. Speaking of owning classic versions or older retro versions of famous Star Wars spacecraft, believe it or not, this is the latest, most up-to-date TIE Interceptor we have ever gotten from LEGO, besides a few exceptions. Essentially, this is the most recent classic TIE Interceptor we've ever gotten. Sure, we got a First Order styled one that was for the Red Baron for the Resistance show, so it was all in red and looked very odd, but this is really just your only standard one that we got, which is very interesting, and honestly feels like LEGO is well overdue giving us a new TIE Interceptor. It's one of the cooler spacecraft from the Star Wars universe, which I think is replicated fairly okay here. You can see it absolutely captures the general look and feel that you would want to get for the swishability of a spacecraft like this. But come on, LEGO, can this really be the best you can do with the TIE Interceptor? I'm just waiting for a more modernized version. That being said, this absolutely still retained the styling of the older TIE fighters, particularly in the light gray, dark gray, blue, which is very interesting. Not sure why LEGO was doing blue, and the black here. And this really does feel like one of the vintage Star Wars TIE fighters, except it actually did release quite a few years after the first few. This specifically came out around the 2006-2007 era. So this was kind of around the time where LEGO was still trying to figure out the color schemes for sorts of things, and for whatever reason was still sticking to the blue of the TIE fighters, but you can see it right here. Not much you can do with it other than open up the cockpit like so and close it up, swoosh it around. Absolutely a very blocky design. Certainly could be done much better today, but unfortunately that time has not come yet. So LEGO, I'm still waiting on a new TIE Interceptor, but this is a nice enough substitute while we're waiting. Next up, we have the Darth Maul Scimitar spaceship. This is from Star Wars The Sith Infiltrator. I do own the versions from 2011 and afterwards, as well as the first one, but I never managed to own this kind of in-between version from 2007 until now. So this particular version is pretty interesting because it does actually have quite a lot of hidden features to it. It's not just a standard ship. One thing I do really like is that the landing gear on the bottom actually does splay outwards. You can actually cause them to be pushed inwards and then upwards just like that, but they actually are mounted on turnstiles so you can move them around. Of course, when the vehicle is in flight, you can deploy the kind of wings right here, or the S-foils, so you can really have a very menacing look and feel to it. Maybe it's not absolutely accurate to the actual movie. I don't think the wings were quite this rounded, but it does have a very unique silhouette as it flies towards you. Just a really fun spaceship to have in general. Now, what's also interesting is that this was before LEGO had any flick-fire missiles. So these missiles are literally just mounted on Technic axles. They do not have any friction. If you tilt the ship forward, they will just fall outwards. But they were basically all LEGO could do before they introduced the flick fire missile piece. So if this had come out just a couple years later, they would absolutely have used that flick fire missile piece for the set. Now this in particular does have quite a few different functions. So first of all, the main thing is that you can actually split this first part open. It literally just slides open like so. So you have this close up and then slide open just like that to reveal the front of the spacecraft. Here you can launch some of Darth Maul's probe droids, and you can see his lightsaber still in the chrome color right at the front there. After you close this back up, literally just slides in on a Technic axle here. Let me just get this closed up. Then you'll notice that the back can also be fully opened up. You just lift this section up here, and Darth Maul can ride out in his speeder. So the speeder, like many of the other Sith infiltrator vehicles, flies directly into a spacecraft, which is very fun. Almost feels like a classic space type of thing where you have the little rover inside or little small speeder vehicle that is enveloped by the larger one, so a great play feature. And this also has a really cool decal printed on the back of this windscreen to showcase the engines on the back here. Absolutely wasn't really necessary for this build, but I do appreciate how they gave us a specialized brand new piece for both this and this for the spacecraft itself. Otherwise, nothing too crazy to say here, just good to own another version of a classic Star Wars spacecraft, and I am well on my way to owning all of the different Star Wars sets with this one in hand. This right here is the Droid Tri Fighter. Honestly, it's kind of one of my favorite designs from all of these Star Wars vehicles. I just really like how unique of a design it is, and this is the version that came out in 2005 to coincide with the release of the Revenge of the Sith movie. It in fact is the only version of the vessel I do not own. I do own the Clone Wars version and even some custom ones from the Brick Vault sets, but this was just one of the ones I did not own until now. Now, interestingly enough, LEGO was using the sand blue and dark blue color scheme for this vessel. I guess based on concept art, they assumed that all of these Separatist vehicles would be in this particular color scheme like the Vulture droids. Instead, they ended up being more of a dark gray color, but of course, since these were based off of concept artwork and initial designs, the LEGO designers essentially had to figure out what color this would be, leaving us with this very interesting sand blue and dark blue color scheme. But to be honest, the most interesting piece to me is in the back here. You can barely see it, but yes, that is a Technic bushing in tan. Now, I do not know why it wasn't tan. They could have easily used light gray, they could have used one of the yellow colors, but they recolored it in tan for this set. Not really sure why they did that, but it is a very interesting piece to get. And yes, it was specifically recolored in tan because of this. I don't know why they did that, but it is just a weird color of a Technic bushing to get, and definitely one that's useful for, say, construction stuff, which requires weird colors of Technic pieces. All in all, this is honestly a pretty refined build for its day. They really had to think outside the box when creating this particular vehicle just because of how unique it is, and that's one thing I really like about it, is that it really pushes LEGO design to come up with something cool and unique for a vessel like this. But with that, we can now move on to some more stuff because there is still so many vehicles to take a look at. This is fun and cute. The LEGO Studios line brought us a literal giant animatronic T-Rex head. Specifically, this was meant to be not a real T-Rex, of course. This baby T-Rex is just a prop, and the Explorer there is just an actor because this was for LEGO Studios. The way it works is very simple. You move the head up and down, you can move it side to side, and you can cause it to chomp by pressing one of the other buttons. It does truly operate like you're actually pretending to operate a full-on realistic animatronic head, and it's much larger than the T-Rex heads of its time. You can really pretend it's chomping down on the hero right here. This is just such a fun set to have. I think it's a really cool concept to literally design a LEGO theme off of a movie prop, but yeah, here it is. This LEGO set is meant to specifically be just a prop in films, and it encouraged people to actually use it for their own brick films and make their own stop action movies with stuff like this. The only downside is that, of course, it is all on frictionless hinges, so you couldn't really actually do great movies with it, especially for stop action, because if you really wanted to do it, you would literally have to just hold your hands in certain positions and slowly move them up, or you could just simply do a movie like this and cut your hand out later. But it was just a fun, gimmicky sort of set with a really fun feature to move the head up and down, spin side to side, back and front, and do some chomping like so. With that though, let's now move on to something a little bit more interesting. Alright, so here we have one of these sets inspired by Jurassic Park 3. Very interesting how this was LEGO playing around with the Jurassic Park or World license way before the more modern line of Jurassic World in 2015. Kind of funny to see the odd things that LEGO was trying to create with that. So first of all, this is a very interesting set because obviously you have, these are the Velociraptors. They essentially had to make all of their dinosaurs fully brick built with only a couple of molds shared between them. So they did the best they could using the dragon arms right here, these standard dino molds from their Dino Canister series, and you even have a pterodactyl or pteranodon, which also uses the same exact headpiece, just built differently. And honestly, I do appreciate these simple builds, although they definitely were not the best for its time. This is meant to represent the observatory from the third movie, featuring the pteranodons and whatnot, and of course the velociraptors attacking, so kind of a very, very basic and odd design. This actually came out under the umbrella of LEGO Studios, which was a somewhat original, somewhat mixed license theme that was supposed to inspire kids to create their own movies based off of famous movie events. And here we actually have some pretty interesting pieces. They did not actually represent any of the Jurassic Park characters in LEGO form, and instead opted to use minifigures like this, which were just basically reuses from the Johnny Thunder Adventures line of all things. So here we've got some of the more interesting pieces in transparent. These were the rotating door elements, which were, I believe, new in transparent for this set. Kind of interesting to see them being featured here as the doors to the observatory, although again, very basic build. And you even have this window that opens up at the top here, like so it's completely hollow. But this is actually one of the windscreen elements from LEGO Aquazone. So this is again recolored for a new color in the trans black category, or trans brown, or whatever you want to call it. So pretty interesting to see a lot of weird recolors for the set. But all in all, honestly, this is not one of the more visually impressive sets. Very, very basic design. Probably would be a junior set today, and they would probably just make this a very juniorized design with just some different dinosaurs. But still interesting to see what sorts of offerings LEGO was trying to create for the Jurassic Park franchise all the way back in 2002-2003. And look at this little fellow. This is just one of LEGO's baby Ankylosaurus dinosaur builds. It is super, super simple. It was just released as part of the polybag-like Baby Dinos line. I think I got this for a couple bucks, and I figured why not just get another cute LEGO dino build. Sure, it's not as refined as many of the other dinosaurs we see today, but it's just cute, and really that's all it needs. Honestly, not too much I can say about this particular build. You could actually rebuild it into different dinosaurs, which was very nice. I always like it when LEGO does introduce some rebuildability factor there, but honestly, this is just super simple, just a very approximate representation of a small baby dinosaur. I do like the club on the end of the tail though. I think that's a really nice touch. But otherwise, let's just move on to something a little bit more interesting now. So this right here may actually be one of my favorite LEGO Adventure sets ever. It was easily one of the cheapest, if not the most cheapest standard retail set, and literally just features a crocodile, a small jungle shrine which opens up to reveal some treasure, and Johnny Thunder on a boat that is just very reminiscent of adventure movies. Even scaled down, this definitely feels like one of the things that you would see in some sort of jungle movie. And honestly, that's all I'm looking for out of LEGO Adventures. Now this took the standard rowboat piece, recolored it in light blue, and gave us something we haven't really seen as a build on top of the rowboat, turning it into a steam-powered boat. You can see you actually have a working steering wheel here, or one that actually spins, a window to look out at the front, you have the steam engine up front, and then a ton of cargo to be carried at the front of the boat. This is just such a good design for a boat. It really just feels very complete to me, and ever since I saw pictures of the set online, I knew that I definitely wanted to pick this up as one of the quintessential LEGO Adventure sets. And so while I would, over the years, pick up more and more Adventure sets that were far larger than this, I never actually got around to getting this set until now. And I'm very, very happy that I did, because I just simply love how classic and retro the style of this set is. Over here, we actually have one of the nice unprinted headdress pieces. This is meant to be some sort of altar to one of the main antagonists or jungle creatures that we see later on in one of the larger sets, but this actually does open up to reveal some treasure inside, some more gems, so always good to see a very simple function like that, just using the dark orange pillars, super simple color scheme and design, and of course, you've got the classic bright green LEGO crocodile. Now this was just the regular LEGO crocodile that we saw across many of the older sets, but it just adds that classic LEGO look and feel, and to me this is a classic, just adventurous LEGO playset. It just opens the door to a lot of different possibilities. Where could he be sailing down? What river is he going down? What is the shrine for? Is the crocodile a friend or foe? Just so many different play possibilities in a small set like this that makes me really appreciate it for what it is. With that though, we can now move on to some more larger stuff. Alright, so this set is from the LEGO Adventurers line from the rarely visited Dino Island subtheme. It features a whole trapper vehicle for Johnny Thunder to transport dinosaurs like the T-Rex, a boat for him to load the dinos onto, and a small car with Sam Sinister and his minions to actually try to capture the dinosaurs for themselves. So this was kind of LEGO's attempt at capitalizing on the popularity of the Jurassic Park movies. This was absolutely non-licensed, but they really were trying trying to capture the vibe and general feeling of it, which is why Johnny Thunder made his way to Dino Island, which is always really interesting seeing LEGO do their own unique spin on a licensed property while still weaving it into their own original theme. So starting off with the actual transport truck here, it's very, very simple, but I do like how it is able to transport the full T-Rex dinosaur. This was a brand new mold created for the Dino Island sub-theme, and it is a fantastic mold. I love the way the T-Rex turned out. You can actually move the arms and have the jaw bite and even have the tail swish back and forth. On the back here, we do have some cargo, which is very simple, but just a cargo box in the back. And all in all, this is just a really simple truck, but definitely emblematic of the Adventurers sub-theme as a whole. Moving onwards, you can set that aside. It does, yes, detach, so you can have the front of the truck just as its own car as well, which also scales very nicely with the Sam Sinister car also featured in the set itself. So always great to see kind of two opposing different factions of vehicles here. But then, of course, the main attraction is the boat itself. So this boat features the special molding for the Triceratops in the light gray and dark gray molding. They actually introduced another color mold, but this was a special one exclusive to this particular set. Now, I really like how they have just a very simple way of attaching him. You just have a simple chain to harness the dinosaur here, but as you can see right there, this is the standard of dinosaur molds that we are getting around this day and age. You've got Dr. Kilroy up front mans the baby T-Rex, which he has stored at the front of the boat, and of course you have one of the helpers for Johnny Thunder up here as well, piloting the boat itself. It's a very simple concept and execution of a set and boat design, but I really do appreciate the amount of play factor that this has. You can load all sorts of different dinosaurs onto it. You've got a flag in the back to represent kind of it trailing behind them, and it honestly just feels like it belongs straight out of a dinosaur or adventure-like movie, which is one of my favorite things about all of the adventure sets. They really do feel like they're ripped straight from different adventuring movies, and this boat is no exception. This is a really great set that I really appreciate has all sorts of different vehicles, both land and ocean, to really have a dynamic play scene, but there's still so much more to see, so let's now move on. Alright, so here we have the largest LEGO Adventurers Dino Island set. This is the Dino Research Compound, and man, this is a fully fledged playset. Despite being very juniorized, especially for its time, it has these large, thick base plates and really large pieces that make up its construction. There is a lot of stuff you can do here, and I want to start off with some of the side builds. First of all, you have a twin pod kind of jet aircraft here for Sam Sinister and his henchmen. I really appreciate the very unique design of this. Doesn't really mirror any sort of real world vehicle, but I just think it's really fun. You can even deploy a net from the bottom, so that is always a great feature to have to drop on top of the dinosaurs. Otherwise, it's just kind of a nice little villain side build vehicle that offers a very unique design for the concept of the set. Moving onwards, we also have a little bit of a trapping car. This is just a very simple build for the car to go along, and you can use this bar here to trap dinosaurs, kind of loop the chain around their necks to lead them back to the research compound, and then you just have a little boat as well. So nothing too crazy going on. The entire set is designed to kind of take place as if all of this is a river that's flowing through, so you've got a bridge over the water, and then you have two different areas or land masses on these sides here. So the set does include one of the largest T-Rexes, as well as a Pteranodon on the top there. Now this set is really fun because there is so much stuff you can do with the minifigures. First of all, you can obviously see there is a zip line here, so should you wish, you can have a character zip line all the way down from one section to the other, just like so. Super simple that they can just do it like that. You also have a net launcher, so this is actually just a simple catapult to launch a net at a dinosaur over at this direction. Kind of interestingly placed, but it definitely does work. And even down here, you have small spaces for minifigs to play in. There's a water cup here next to a fire, a little bucket, some tools on the side here, and even going into this area, there is a jail or kind of storage type cell that can be opened up like so. So all sorts of play can be done around there. Working our way to the top, though, we come to probably one of my favorite features of the set itself. I think it's best if we just zoom in so we can get this at the perfect angle here, but up for the observatory tower, you can actually turn this outwards, and there you go, a satellite or radar tower will reveal itself. I just think this is such a cool feature because it's super simple. It literally is just raised and lowered based on how you actually angle the window pane pieces here. So there you can see it's fully lowered. And then you can see that as you open it up, step by step, it slowly raises up just based on the alignment of the pieces there. So Very, very cool function, very fun and satisfying to play with, and I think that's just a really fun function of the set as a whole. Of course, there's still a lot more things you can do here. Despite this being, again, very juniorized with large pieces, one thing that LEGO sets of this era excelled at was feeling like they gave you a lot of structure to play with. And this truly feels like a massive area where minifigures can really go around and interact with the different dinosaurs. First of all, going on to here, you have Johnny Thunder with a bit of a dino capture tool right here to loop around their necks. You also have one of the trees which can be toppled over and opened up like so you can reveal some stuff underneath. Maybe the Pteranodon lands on it and knocks the tree over, so just fun stuff you can do there. And even have a bit of a movable docking station here, so you can use that to attach to various things such as the boat. So you lift that up and then you can just lock the boat into place like so kind of keep the boat fully docked like this if you should wish to keep it alongside the area here. And then you have the crane which can be moved around like so, and then you have the crane which can be moved around and used to pick up cargo. All in all, this is a really fun set. I like how you can literally just take the bridge section out and then you have two different modules that you can play around with. Of course, you got to disconnect the string as well, but it also does feel like a fully enclosed set once you put the crane back in. Let me just reattach back here and then attach the string. I believe it was wrapped something like around here, kind of around one of these areas. I mean, we can just put it right there and call it good. But all in all, this does feel like a very substantial playset, especially when you have the dinosaurs added in. I love the inclusion of multiple different animals in the set to really sell the feel that this is a very large and expansive structure, and the inclusion of the villain vehicle as well is the cherry on top. Definitely one of the best, if not the best, Dino Island Adventurers sets, and a worthy addition to the Adventurers classic theme. Okay, so this right here is a very charming small set from the first wave of Harry Potter sets. It is simply the Gryffindor Common Rooms and Gryffindor Dormitories set. Now, this was really just based on the first movie before LEGO really had any access to what the movie was going to look like. Presumably, they were looking at the cover art for the books and trying to figure out what the world of Harry Potter would translate to on screen, which is why it looks so odd, but I think that is definitely part of the charm of the early Harry Potter sets, is having just weird, strangely colored stuff like this, featuring colors that we probably have never even seen parts in before and never will again. First of all, I want to point out the amazing base plate in the old purple color. That's really great to get. Obviously, one of the highlights is the fat lady portrait, which you can see right here, from the spinning wall to reveal the entrance to the Gryffindor common room after you tell her the password. I think that's a really fun piece to get, and while it doesn't necessarily look too much like an actual minifigure, I do appreciate the graphic design on it being still similar enough to the actual minifigures that came out for this theme. You have some specially printed books in teal and red. LEGO Harry Potter introduced a ton of different books and printings for the book covers. So you've got potions and herbs right here. So very fun to see different styles of books being introduced just for the Harry Potter line. And here we even have a custom fabric element. This is meant to represent, I guess, one of the bed sheets. So the minifigures are supposed to sleep here, cover themselves in the bed sheets here or the bed curtains, and then get up like so. And for whatever reason, they made the wands transparent using lightsaber blade pieces. So I don't know what LEGO designers were on when they made this, but man, this is just such a fun and inventive set. Honestly, probably could be even like a Harry Potter book set more than an actual movie set, just because of how bizarre it is. One thing I do want to note is that the graphic design for Harry Potter figures was honestly not the best back then. Very odd facial features, especially for Ron here, so it's just kind of funny seeing how the set was put together and a glimpse into the past of LEGO design. With that though, we can move on to the next set. And this right here is Gringotts Bank. This was one of the Harry Potter sets that also was released right when the first few movies came out, so it has a very interesting style. LEGO designers were really just working off of either clips of the movies or concept artwork, so kind of interesting seeing how the design language for Harry Potter sets evolved. And this is honestly a surprisingly involved set with a lot of stuff you can do, which is why I really wanted to pick it up. One of my favorite features is the actual cart here. I really appreciate how you can actually have it be fully playable. Tip this forwards, and the cart just simply slides down. Very, very simple, but oh so satisfying to have it just slide cleanly down the rails like so. Not a lot of friction there, so you can really just get a lot of good speed with this particular model. Now, once you actually have the minecart tipped downwards, like you have right here, very simple, you actually reveal some other stuff down inside. You have some potion books and whatnot. I love these little surprises that Harry Potter designers included in the early days of Lego, just to have little fun stuff like that. So you have a nice cart here, and it comes with two different goblin figures. You've got Harry, Hagrid, and the two goblins. So one of them, I guess, might be Grip Hook or one of the main ones, and one of them is just another attendant. I've kind of just placed him here, but he really just kind of walks along with his cart. Now, this is a surprisingly sturdy and large build for what it is. Of course, it's very simplistic as well, just using these large columns, but I do like the attempt at detailing. As we zoom in, you can see some of the lights being actually physically built into the tower itself. You've got some different animals up at the top there, including a white rat, which is very interesting. And of course, you have the printed tile or the printed brick here, which literally says Gringotts, a very nice print to have. And then moving onwards, we have down here the actual vault. So this whole thing can be removed, so you can have easy access for play. One thing that's very interesting is that you actually can have the vault be spinning around. So if you so please, you can have this be maybe hidden away, and then when you say the magic password or show your keys, then it spins around and reveals the bank. This bank can also be opened up like so, revealing some money inside. There were some money elements inside here. And then again, right underneath, we have another tile that's printed just as an extra surprise for people using this set and playing around with it. All in all, I really do like the concept of the set. Having the Goblin Bank being featured in Lego set form for the first time was very, very charming. It certainly has its own unique 2001-2002 Harry Potter aesthetic, but I think it certainly nails the vibe that they're going for, and I love just how satisfying it is to have the cart roll down just like that. With that though, let's now move on to the next set. One thing I forgot to mention about the Harry Potter sets we just saw, the Gringotts area also has a bank which you can open up with a key that actually can store some treasures inside. Super simple build, but you can see that right here. And the Hogwarts dorms actually came with this very expansive, really nicely detailed banner piece. It's fully cardboard and it's meant to act as a backdrop for the two different modules. So the way it works is you have it set up here and you have the two different size modules just kind of situated like this. It is really cool that they actually included this. You rarely ever see something like this in sets. And I just really love the artwork done here. It's just a very classic and vintage style of artwork that truly feels pretty cozy, like an actual classroom or in the Gryffindor Commons room themselves. But let's just now move on to the other stuff. Right here we have a trio of Harry Potter sets, which despite being from completely different eras, still managed to be about the same layout and general set design. First off, we have a set from 2001. This is meant to be specifically the scene in which Harry Potter confronts Professor Quirrell, and you can see the Mirror of Erised in the back there. Next up in the middle, we have a set that came out to coincide with the launch of the Prisoner of Azkaban movie. It is the Buckbeak's Sirius Black Rescue set. Comes with the Buckbeak mold, which only appeared in one other set, Sirius Black himself, and a Dementor. And then we have the Harry and the Marauders map set here, where Harry Potter himself ventures down through a statue with the Marauders map to find a secret entrance to Hogsmeade Village. So first of all, starting off with the one chronologically that takes place first, we have this particular item right here. This came out in 2001 to coincide with the release of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, so some details absolutely are not the same as the movies, but they captured it fairly well. I like this classic style of Professor Quirrell minifigure who did something revolutionary in minifigure design. He was the first minifigure to feature a face on the back of his head. And this actually makes total sense because he literally does have a face on the back of his head, unlike nowadays where we get minifigures with dual facial expressions with it's just covered up by the hairpiece. This was literally meant to be a face on the back of his head. Harry Potter is a very simple figure. It is a basically standard design from the first movie. What's really special about this is the Mirror of Erised right here, where you can see, based on the way that you tilt the mirror and look at it, Harry is either holding the Sorcerer's Stone or he doesn't have it at all. I think this is a really cool design that is fully lenticular. It is a fascinating design to have on a Lego set itself. If only the copyright Lego and copyright Warner Brothers signs were not so prominent, this would be really cool, but I just think this is a very unique concept for the Mirror of Erised to have as a Lego set, and honestly is what convinced me to get the set myself. Of course, rotating it around reveals the Sorcerer's Stone itself, and I like that as you rotate it, you can see it actually flip back and forth. That is, unless it just falls down like this, because these pieces were not known for their durability. Moving onwards though from this particular set, which is really great. I do like the way that it's built up. Honestly, probably one of my favorites here. Let's just get the mirror back in there. Come on, stay in there in position. Then we have the Sirius Black's Rescue set. This is easily the largest of the 3 sets we have here, with the most going on with it. So you've got Sirius Black up there in the jail cell with the Dementor piece from the original movies. And then as you turn around the back here, you'll notice that it is fully enclosed. So this is actually a fully enclosed tower structure, but you can actually open it up, as you can see right here, and you can even have a lot of interior space revealed on the inside. There's a small potions desk that flips open to reveal some secrets beneath some printed tiles. And all in all, just a really interesting set, although to be honest, I kind of like the play features of the Mirror of Erised set better just because of how cool the lenticular mirror is. This one, on the other hand, is fairly simple. It is literally just a tower set, but I do appreciate the look and feel of the set itself, and it definitely does capture the scene appropriately. Closing this back up, you can really see that this is when LEGO is starting to try to get more and more accurate with their Harry Potter sets. So you've actually got the full set here featuring the Buckbeak creature, which is a very nice new mold. You can see the wings were specially molded, and you can even move the head up and down like so, as well as Sirius Black himself. Moving onwards, we finally have a very, very simple set with the Marauders map right here. The way that it works is that you literally use Harry Potter's wand using the Lumen feature to insert into this plot here to actually control the way that this lever works. So this is a very interesting feature. You literally stick the wand in to control this back feature, which allows you to slide this open. So the statue at the front, which is missing the top torso for whatever reason, the set did not include it. I believe it was listed as incomplete, but not a big deal. It was a plain gray torso. Slides open like that, and it reveals a hidden passageway for Harry to go down and exit. So very simple set, but a fun execution, and very interesting how they literally use the wand to control the piece, which makes total sense because you would need to use the wand to pass the spell to reveal the secret. So all in all, I like this one quite a lot. I also like this one as well, and this is honestly, despite being the largest one, probably one of the least interesting because it is just a tower. With that though, let's now move on to the other stuff. Continuing with Harry Potter, we have the first iteration of the Night Bus. I have the one that came out in the later wave in 2011, and also the one that very recently came out for the reboot of LEGO Harry Potter, but I never actually got the original one that was released to coincide with the Prisoner of Azkaban movie up until now. So this is really interesting because it uses some of the most classic forms of LEGO wheels, just molded in purple. Very rare for them to actually still have been using these LEGO wheels with studs on the side, especially during this era. Fascinating to see that. You have the Night Bus as a print, as well as the shrunken doll head printed on the front of the windscreen here. And it also does come with Harry with the wand kind of illuminating his surroundings. It literally was just using the graphic design from the yellow-skinned minifigures, but just translating it to the more fleshy colors. And most importantly, it introduced the LEGO dog mold, which was used in many, many different sets ever since this one as the Grim Dog, or Sirius Black's dog form. Interesting to see that the mold was actually created for Harry Potter and eventually outlasted it because it lasted through several other themes before eventually being replaced by a slightly more detailed dog mold that could facilitate printing on the head. Now, the Night Bus itself can actually be split up into different layers. As you can see here, the roof can be removed very simply. And then the top layer, middle layer, and there you go. One very nice detail is that inside each of the compartments, there are beds that simply just slide back and forth while the vehicle is moving, mimicking the actual scene in the movie where you can see wizards and witches on the beds themselves sliding back and forth inside the van. And of course, you have Stan Shunpak, the driver himself, just featured right in the driver's seat. So all sorts of great detail featured in the set. Super simple motion, so you actually just have very simple features to have the sliding pieces be going back and forth, but all in all, that's just a very nice and charming set in general. Absolutely one of the vehicles that is very, very simple by today's standards. I am sure that they were able to improve it a lot for the future. I mean, if you just take a look at what they have today, you will notice that there's a lot of improvements to how this particular bus is built. But as it is right now, it's just a charming set that is very boxy to be sure, but certainly indicative of LEGO's building style back when it first came out. Now this is a wacky set, and is probably one of my favorite, if not my absolute favorite, Fright Nights LEGO set. So this is Willow the Witch's airship. You can see Willow right here, and it is an airship like a hot air balloon, except it is powered by a flying dragon. What a fun concept is that? So this is just a really fun design for a model, incredibly simple, uses only a few pieces with a large hot air balloon style bottom piece right here. You've got some axes to swing at the front to maybe chop any other people's aircrafts as they pass by, a crystal ball for Willow the Witch to presumably steer the ship with, and of course the large single dragon mold up at the top here, which is completely making this entire aircraft fly. This is a lovely concept for a Lego build. I really like how that when you tilt it, the dragon more or less stays upright, so you can really imagine that it is truly flying in the air, and it's honestly just one of those wacky 90s Lego castle designs that they probably wouldn't do nowadays, but absolutely was just a very fun set to play around with in general. I love the Willow figure, and although the cape is pretty tattered, you can still see that it has the spider design on the back. You've got some nice detailing around each of the edges of the plane itself with some of the backing lights. I like to think these are brake lights on the back, so just kind of a fun concept for a model in general. Nothing too crazy I can say about here. Always good to get the dragon mold in a specialized set because this is one of the most classic Lego animals, and I love the inclusion of the wings simply mounted on clips to really make this feel like a very whimsical Lego model. Willow the Witch may have been one of the more villainous characters from Lego Castle lore, but man did she know how to travel in style. Alright, so for this I'm combining two different classic Lego Island sets. This is the Brickster's Jet, which came with the hang glider piece right here. And then this is the largest Lego Island set, which was the Island HQ. This was really the Island Extreme Sports headquarters, which they used to operate as a base of operations. So starting off with this set right here, super simple plane build, but honestly kind of charming for its own right. Brickster is a very iconic villain for Lego, especially because he appeared in the very first Lego game, which was Lego Island, and you actually can angle the wings on this plane to give it a slightly different look and feel if you just want to kind of have it a swooping diving like motion, or have it fully furled out, or just, in my personal preference, curled slightly angled outwards. There's just a lot of fun stuff that you can do with this build, which is also packed with a lot of really fun decals. You'll notice that these are all prints, no stickers were used in this, and they have some metallic finishes, like the skeleton of a fish here is just a fun thing to have, featured on the side of the tail as well as the sides of the front of the plane. The hang glider itself is also a really unique build for what it is. Unfortunately, it did not actually have one of the included pieces that was necessary, so I just ended up having kind of like this configuration. Doesn't work too well, but it's supposed to be like this, which works very well. It's just a minifigure on a hang glider. I think his name was Chip or something. Again, very simple build, but just a fun one to have in general. But moving on, we can take a look at the actual large set here. This is the headquarters that was used for the Island Extreme Sports sub-theme. One thing I like is that they actually have a lot of really fun stuff that you can do for play here. First off, you have the helicopter that can take off and go on missions and whatnot, which is in the Island Extreme Sports stunts branding right there. And of course you have the Brickster in a go-kart featuring his bone skeleton fish logo right there. So you've got him on his race car here, and two of his minions who are dressed up appropriately in their outfits. Now the tower here does spin completely around, and it does have an attachment point for Pepperoni to do some skateboard tricks on. So in case you want him to be going all the way up at the top here, you can have him kind of just be elevated outwards like so. Just kind of a fun thing to have in general. And you even have the opening windows here. So let's just move the minifigures down. The windows here open as some sort of a skylight, which is a fun play feature to have to let some light in. Rotating this all around, it's, as you can see, a very basic build, just using the cool yellow type of color here, which is another rare color to use. A nice panel here, which is stickered, I believe. This is not a print, but you even have a climbing wall here. So along the side, you can have a figure doing some rock climbing up to the top. And most importantly, you have the Infomaniac. So this is truly an icon of Lego. He basically was the character that gave you hints throughout the Lego Island game, and I'm very happy to finally have the Infomaniac in Lego form. In fact, he's the reason why I actually bought the set. I just really wanted to have the Infomaniac as an actual physical minifigure, given how iconic he is to Lego history. Now on the back here, there is a bit of a reel and a winch. The string was not included in the set that I personally purchased used. I have a lot of strings at home, so not a big deal, but you essentially just use the winch to have someone be launched off of the platform here, which is what the skateboarder trick thing is right here, so you can have him kind of jump off and skate his way down the platform. Honestly, kind of wish there were more areas to do skateboarding stunts given the nature of Island Extreme on this building, but for what it is a fun building, certainly a very unique headquarters design for a LEGO set, and one that I'm very happy to have my hands on given how rare and special the Island sub-theme is, and how it really spawned a lot of LEGO history in terms of being the first LEGO game. Alright, and with that, we have summed up my latest Spring 2022 LEGO Bricklink haul. Bricklink, again, is a really amazing resource for buying pretty much any kind of LEGO set from all throughout LEGO's history and catalog, so I really do like it. I'm glad LEGO officially owns Bricklink, and this is just one of many hauls to come in the future. Let me know down in the comments below what has been your experience with Bricklink. Do you own any of these sets I got in this haul? And if so, what do you think of them? Thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed this video, and subscribe to DuckBricks for even more LEGO news, reviews, discussion, and analyses coming your way very soon. Thanks so much, and bye-bye for now.